Hey Paul, I'm Propagandist and I'm bringing you another anime review. Now, you've seen my last review that I did, which was on Gargantua on the Verdurous Planet. I mentioned that I was going to review Mirai Nikki at some point. I'm actually just putting that one on the back burner for now, because recently I've come across a very interesting anime, which I watched all episodes for, and which I actually thought was worthy of actually doing a review on. So, like I say, we're going to put Mirai Nikki on the back burner just for now, and we're going to take a look at something different for this video. So here I am, presenting you all with a review of an anime called Grimgar, Ashes and Illusions. Now, a quick note at this point. This review will contain some spoilers ahead, so if you don't want anything ruined, you might want to kind of click off this video round about now. But if that's not a problem, then let me just start giving some background details here. So, for anyone who hasn't heard of this one, it's a 12-episode fantasy RPG anime that was aired in Japan in 2016. It's apparently based on a series of light novels entitled Grimgar, Fantasy and Ash, which have been ongoing since 2013. Now, I don't really know anything about the light novels, I've never encountered any of them, so the thing is, this review isn't really going to make any mention of those. I'm going to be very much judging the anime by its own merits without any kind of point of comparison. Also worth noting is that this anime was produced by A1 Pictures, who are the same studio that brought us anime adaptations of franchises such as Sword Art Online and Fairy Tail. Now, much like SAO, Grimgar follows a group of protagonists who have found themselves trapped in a strange fantasy world filled with magic and dangerous creatures. However, whereas SAO's world is kind of set within a virtual reality, and its characters are aware that they're very much trapped in a video game, Grimgar is a lot more enigmatic, and that's something which I will cover in more detail in due course. But before we get into the meat of the review, as usual, I have the typical sort of announcements that I like to make at the start of these videos. So firstly, obviously I'm on the left side of the screen, just so I can overlay stuff to the right, static imagery and things like that. Secondly, I will be glancing away from the camera fairly frequently towards my screen, as I have a Word document open which has all my notes in it. Because there's a few things, as usual, that I want to talk about, and I just don't want to accidentally forget anything, so I've just got my prompts open so I can see what I need to talk about. Finally, of course, as I just mentioned a second ago, this review will be using static imagery. There will be no actual footage of the anime actually shown, just because I don't want to fall afoul of any potential copyright issue, so I'm sure you all understand that. But with that out of the way, let's actually get into the meat of the review itself. Now, where should we start? I think we should begin really with the basic premise of this anime. So just a moment ago I mentioned that Grimgar is in much the same vein as other kind of starting life in a new world sort of franchises like SAO. But having said that, I think a slightly better comparison would actually be ReZero, though I emphasise slightly because there is a limit to that comparison. The protagonists, as well as several other minor characters, wake up in this strange world by the name of Grimgar. They soon find themselves having to eke out a rather precarious existence in this realm, which at first glance it seems idyllic enough, but as the series progresses, you soon and very quickly realise that this world is actually very unforgiving and quite cruel. What's interesting is that it is made clear, quite clear early on in fact, something is definitely going on behind the scenes. The main characters are clearly from our world. After all, they make passing references to things like video games, modern technology, but that's where it gets very mysterious, because a moment ago I actually mentioned, of course, the similarity to ReZero. This is the point at which that similarity kind of ends, but not in reference to obviously their kind of brief mentions of things like video games and modern technologies. The strange thing is that not a single one of these characters can actually remember what these things are, so nor can they actually remember where they came from or how they came to be in Grimgar. All they know is that one day they woke up in this strange world. All memories of what came before haven't necessarily been wiped from their minds, I wouldn't say, but at the very least they've certainly been heavily repressed to the point where the characters refer to things from a previous life without actually knowing what it is they're talking about. So we, the viewers of course, are left wondering just what's going on here. Are these characters trapped against their will in some kind of simulation, a la Sword Art Online, or is the world of Grimgar 100% real, a la ReZero? So straight off the bat, there's this hook in the plot that actually draws you in. Now, the 12-episode series doesn't actually explore the character's past, it just uses it as a form of mystery bait to keep the audience engaged. What the series actually focuses on is the struggle of the main characters to survive and eke out an existence in the world of Grimgar. The main characters are propelled into service as volunteer soldier trainees, and they form a team trying to make a living hunting goblins. Now, in true RPG anime fashion, each of them trains as a certain class, with different weapons and skills. So you have Haruhiro, who opts for the Thief class. Now, he's very much the narrator of Grimgar. Pretty much everything that happens in the anime, and I would also tentatively guess perhaps in the light novels as well, everything that happens is told from his viewpoint. Then you have Monoto, the group's priest class, who is their initial leader. He's softly spoken and acts as the glue that keeps the team together. Then there's the energetic Yume, the first of the group's 2 initial female members, and she chooses to train as the hunter class. The second of the group's 2 initial female members is Shihoru, the mage class. Shy and timid, she has trouble talking to the other group members at first. Then you have an interesting character by the name of Ronta, who's the Dark Knight class. Now, he's very hot-headed and very full of bravado, and a bit of a troublemaker. He and the other members of the group don't always see eye to eye, and that's interesting because it helps to spice up the group dynamics a bit, with occasional bouts of internal conflict. So Ronta versus the female members of the group, Ronta versus Haruhiro, things like this. Then you have Moguzo, who is the group's warrior class. Though physically imposing, he's actually quite softly spoken and quickly shows himself to be a fairly reliable team member. And then finally you have Meri, who is a 3rd female member, a priest class, who joins the group later in the series. Now, the characters are all interesting enough, I'd say, and one thing that we definitely see as the series progresses is character growth. Not too long into Grimgar, tragedy soon befalls the group. Now, I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens, but needless to say, it results in the characters having to adapt to the aftermath of said tragedy. They're forced to overcome internal strife, feelings of anguish, feelings of uncertainty, and ultimately, it motivates the group to actually train harder and become stronger. Now, on more general points, the art style of the anime is indeed kind of gorgeous to look at. There's plenty of shots throughout the various episodes, which are just, very nice to, but very easy on the eye, let's put it that way. The soundtrack's good enough too, as well, in my opinion. If there's one thing I would say, and this isn't necessarily a criticism, it's more of a heads up to all potential viewers out there, is that the pacing of the anime can vary. The action sequences are swift and fast-flowing, as you'd hope for, but between those sequences, some viewers might find things a little slower paced. Now again, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. The anime definitely spends a lot of its time focusing on the characters, trying to get into their internal thoughts, particularly, Haruhiro, since he's very much the narrator, as well as showing those characters interacting with one another. The point I'm trying to make is that if you're looking for a kind of constant adrenaline rush, a fast pace with tons of action scenes, repeating after action scenes, then Grimgar may leave you feeling a little underwhelmed. However, this comes down to personal taste, I do think. If you like a slow burner, a story that takes its time to really examine its characters, then honestly, that might not be a problem for you, and you might actually enjoy it. Now, as always with these anime reviews, I also like to add in a little section about suitability for certain audiences. My DVD copy of Grimgar is certified 15, and watching over it, I can understand why. There is bloody violence in Grimgar, nothing that I'd say is particularly gory, but violent nevertheless. There is also a small, and I stress very small here, amount of suggestive fan service. Having said that though, the Grimgar anime certainly is not the most fan service heavy series I've ever encountered so far in my exploration of anime. So to sum up, if for example you're a parent or a carer looking for something for a child, then you're probably better passing this one up, given the age certification. I also tried out the English dub as well, incidentally, and overall I thought it was decent enough, so another potential plus point in the anime's favour. So, to summarise this short review, Grimgar's got a good aesthetic, a nice soundtrack, an interesting premise, good characters. Would I recommend it? Certainly. Although it might be a little slow paced for some viewers' tastes, if that isn't a problem for you, then, it's worth giving a shot and you may find something you really enjoy. I do wonder if A1 Pictures will ever produce a second season, though. Like I said earlier, the anime reels you in with its element of mystery surrounding how the characters came to be in Grimgar, but in those 12 episodes it doesn't actually delve any more into that. I imagine that could be a suitable basis for a second season. Who knows? Watch this space, I guess. Other than that, thank you everyone for joining me for another anime review, and I hope you enjoyed this. So, of course, if you're not aware already, General Red Propagandist is my second channel. My main channel is General Red Strategist, where I do a lot of gaming content. If you're interested in that kind of thing, you'll find a link to it in the video description, along with 2 other links to my social media accounts for, they're associated with the Strategist channel. So if you want to, sign up to those, you can do. It's up to you. Other than that, thank you everybody, and goodbye.